The morning sun barely pierced the threadbare curtains of Naomi's one-room apartment, casting a soft glow on the cracked linoleum floor. It was 6 a.m., and the air smelled faintly of last night's boiled yam. Naomi stirred, her body aching from a restless night on the thin mattress she shared with her son, Zeke, who was turning 6 today. She turned to see him still asleep, his small chest rising and falling, a faint smile curling his lips as if he were dreaming of something far grander than their reality. Naomi's heart swelled. She whispered, "Happy birthday, my love," her voice a tender promise against the weight of their struggles. Naomi slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Zeke, and tiptoed to the corner where a rusty gas stove sat. Her fingers brushed against the 5 crumpled bills in her pocket, barely enough for a meal, let alone a birthday celebration. No cake, no candles, no gifts. Just rice, a few vegetables, and her unwavering love for the boy who made every sacrifice worth it. She glanced at the calendar on the wall, its edges curling from dampness. 6 years, she murmured. 6 years since she'd faced the world alone, pregnant and abandoned, yet Zeke's laughter had become her lifeline. Zeke stirred, rubbing his eyes. "Mommy, is it my birthday yet?" His voice was bright, untouched by the scarcity around them. Naomi knelt beside him, brushing his curly hair. "It sure is, champ. Today's all about you." His eyes sparkled. "Will there be cake?" Naomi's chest tightened, but she forced a grin. "We're going on an adventure to the market. I'll make you something special, okay? A surprise." Zeke clapped, his excitement infectious. "A surprise. Can it have tomatoes? I love tomatoes." Naomi laughed, pulling him into a hug. "Tomatoes it is. Now, let's get you dressed." As Zeke scrambled to find his least-worn shirt, Naomi's mind raced. The market was a gamble. Prices were rising, and her funds were dwindling. But she'd promised Zeke a special day, and she'd walk through fire to keep that promise. She tied her faded scarf around her head, its once vibrant green now dulled by years of wear, and checked her reflection in a cracked mirror. "You've got this," she told herself, though doubt gnawed at her. She wasn't just a mother today. She was a magician, conjuring joy from nothing. "Ready, Mommy," Zeke called, bouncing in his sneakers, one sole flapping slightly. Naomi took his hand, her calloused fingers wrapping around his soft ones, and they stepped into the dusty street. The world outside buzzed with life. Motorcycles roared, children shouted, and the distant hum of the market beckoned. Naomi squared her shoulders, her love for Zeke a quiet fire in her chest. Today, she'd make magic, even if it cost her every last coin. The market was a living beast, pulsing with noise, color, and chaos. Vendors shouted over each other, their voices a cacophony of bargains. Fresh tomatoes, cheap. Ground nuts, roasted and hot. The air was thick with the scent of smoked fish, ripe mangoes, and diesel from passing trucks. Naomi held Zeke's hand tightly as they wove through the crowd, her eyes scanning for the best deals. Zeke's head swiveled, taking in the sights, piles of yams, baskets of peppers, and children darting between stalls, chasing a stray ball. "Mommy, look." Zeke pointed at a vendor tossing groundnuts in a sizzling pan, the aroma making Naomi's stomach rumble. "Can we get some?" Naomi's fingers brushed the bills in her pocket, her mind calculating. Groundnuts were a luxury today, but Zeke's hopeful eyes were impossible to resist. "Let's see after the tomatoes, okay?" she said, softening the denial with a smile. "We're on a mission for your birthday surprise." Zeke nodded, skipping beside her. "Okay. But groundnuts would be nice." Naomi chuckled, but her heart ached. The market wasn't just a place to shop, it was a map of her past. 7 years ago, she'd come here, pregnant and alone, after Trent vanished. She'd stood at a vegetable stall, tears streaming, as a kind vendor named Mama Bose slipped her an extra yam. "For the baby," she'd whispered. That act of kindness had kept Naomi going. Now she was back, older but no richer, fighting the same battles. They reached Mama Bose's stall, where the elderly woman sat fanning herself with a newspaper. Her face lit up. "Naomi. And this must be the birthday boy." Zeke grinned. I'm 6 today, Mama Bose. 6. So big. Mama Bose leaned forward, her voice warm. What's the plan, Naomi? Big party. Naomi hesitated, her smile tight. Just a special meal. Rice, some meat, maybe tomatoes for this one. She ruffled Zeke's hair. Mama Bose's eyes softened. You're a good mother. Always have been. She lowered her voice, glancing around. Heard prices went up again. Be careful with those traders over there, they'll rob you blind. Naomi nodded, grateful. Thanks, Mama. I'll manage. As they moved deeper into the market, Naomi's memories grew heavier. She passed the spot where she'd once sat, exhausted and pregnant, wondering how she'd survive. Trent's betrayal had cut deep, but she'd rebuilt herself for Zeke. Today, though, was about joy, not pain. She stopped at a vegetable stall, haggling for tomatoes. The vendor, a wiry man with a gap-toothed grin, eyed her scarf. That's all you're buying? Come on, add some peppers. Naomi laughed lightly. Maybe next time. Just these for now. Zeke tugged her sleeve. Mommy, can we look at the fruit? Maybe mangoes. After the rice, she promised, her voice steady despite the math screaming in her head. Every step in this market was a test of her resilience, but for Zeke, she'd keep walking. Naomi was weighing a small bag of rice when a voice sliced through the market's din, sharp and venomous. Wow! Look who's still crawling through this market. Her stomach dropped. She knew that voice. Trent, the man who'd abandoned her 7 years ago, leaving her pregnant and penniless. She turned slowly, clutching Zeke's hand, and saw him standing 10 feet away, his arm draped around Kira, the woman who'd mocked Naomi relentlessly during her pregnancy. They were dressed in flashy clothes, Trent's gold chain glinting, Kira's straight weave swaying as she smirked. Naomi's breath caught. The market noise faded, replaced by the thud of her heartbeat. Trent's eyes locked on hers, his grin cruel. Naomi. Still scraping by, huh? His gaze slid to Zeke, who was staring curiously. So that's the mistake I left behind. His voice was loud, deliberate, drawing stares from nearby vendors. Zeke tugged Naomi's sleeve, his voice small. Mommy, what's a mistake? Naomi's throat tightened, rage and shame battling inside her. She knelt, forcing a smile. Nothing, sweetie. Just a man talking nonsense. Let's keep shopping. Kira laughed, tossing her weave. Oh, Naomi, still playing the saint? That scarf's older than your kid. Her words dripped with disdain, and a few bystanders snickered. Naomi stood, her hands trembling but her face composed. We're here for Zeke's birthday, she said evenly, refusing to let them see her break. Excuse us. Trent stepped closer, his voice mocking. Birthday? With what? That rice. You should thank me, Naomi. At least you got a souvenir from our little fling. The word fling hit like a slap. Naomi's mind flashed to the night she'd cried herself to sleep, pregnant and alone, while Trent partied with Kira. She wanted to scream, to tell him he was nothing, but Zeke's small hand in hers anchored her. Let's go, Zeke, she said softly, turning away. Kira called after her. Keep dreaming, Naomi. You'll always be the charity case. Naomi kept walking, her back straight, but inside, she was unraveling. The market, once her refuge, felt like a stage for her humiliation. Vendors whispered, their pity stinging more than Kira's words. Zeke looked up, confused. Why were they mean, Mommy? Naomi swallowed hard, forcing cheer. Some people just don't know how to be kind. But we're gonna make your birthday amazing, okay? Zeke nodded, but his eyes lingered on Trent and Kira, who were still laughing. Naomi's heart broke, but she refused to let it show. She'd protect Zeke's joy, no matter the cost. Naomi guided Zeke away from Trent and Kira, her steps measured but her mind a storm. The market's bustle resumed, vendors shouting, carts rattling, but the sting of their words lingered like smoke. Kira's voice rang out again, loud enough for all to hear. Still buying local rice, Naomi? Maybe try a food bank next time. Naomi's grip on Zeke's hand tightened, her nails digging into her palm. She wanted to turn back, to unleash years of pent-up pain, but she wouldn't give them the satisfaction. The crowd's eyes followed her, some curious, others sympathetic. A young woman at a fruit stall muttered, "That's just cruel." Zeke looked up, his brow furrowed. "Mommy, why do they keep talking about rice?" Naomi forced a laugh, crouching to his level. "They're just jealous because our rice is going to taste better than anything they've got." "Right." He giggled, nodding. "Yeah. With tomatoes." Naomi stood, her resolve hardening. She wouldn't let Trent and Kira ruin this day. She approached another stall, where a vendor named Chitty offered her a small discount on meat. "Heard what happened?" he whispered, his eyes kind. "Don't let them get to you." "Thanks, Chitty," Naomi said, her voice steady but her heart heavy. As she paid, she overheard Kira's laugh again, like nails on a chalkboard. "She's still walking like she owns the place," Kira said to Trent. "Pathetic." Naomi's cheeks burned, but she kept her focus on Zeke, who was now humming a tune. She wouldn't stoop to their level. She'd walk away with dignity, even if it felt like walking on glass. As they left the market, Zeke skipped beside her, oblivious to the weight she carried. "This is gonna be the best birthday ever," he declared. Naomi smiled, her throat tight. "It will be, baby." But inside, she was crumbling, the humiliation a fresh wound. She vowed to make Zeke's day special, even if it meant hiding her pain. Back in their apartment, Naomi turned on a battered radio, filling the room with upbeat Afrobeat music. The cracked tiles became their stage. "Time for a birthday dance party," she announced, twirling Zeke around. His laughter echoed, pure and unburdened, as they slid across the floor in their socks. Naomi's heart lifted, the market sting fading with every giggle. "Spin me, mommy." Zeke squealed, and Naomi obliged, her scarf slipping as she spun him. For a moment, they were just a mother and son, untouchable by the world's cruelty. After the dance, Naomi lit the stove, the sizzle of meat filling the air. She chopped tomatoes with care, Zeke watching eagerly. "Can I help?" he asked. "Sure, champ." "Stir the rice," she said, handing him a spoon. They worked side by side, the small kitchen warm with love. As the meal cooked, Naomi sat Zeke down at their wobbly table, serving him a plate of rice and meat, garnished with his beloved tomatoes. "This is the best birthday ever," Zeke said, his mouth full. Naomi's eyes glistened. "You deserve it, my love." She hugged him tightly, whispering, "Better days are coming. I promise." Zeke looked up, serious. "You're the best, mommy. Even if we don't have cake." Naomi's heart swelled. She didn't need the world's approval. She had Zeke's love. As they ate, she felt a spark of hope. The market had tried to break her, but here, in this tiny room, she was whole. Little did she know, the next day would bring a reckoning she never expected. The evening shadows stretched long across Naomi's cramped apartment, the single bulb flickering as she washed the last of the dinner plates. Zeke was curled up on their shared mattress, his small snores filling the room. Naomi's hands trembled, not from the cold water, but from the weight of the day, the market, Trent's cruel words, Kira's mocking laughter. She scrubbed harder, trying to push the memories away, when the door creaked open. Her heart skipped. Bryce wasn't due back from his business trip until tomorrow. "Naomi." His deep voice filled the room, warm and steady, like a lighthouse in a storm. Bryce stood in the doorway, his tailored suit slightly rumpled from travel, his dark eyes searching her face. He was tall, commanding, with a quiet strength that made the world feel safer. "You're home early," she said, drying her hands, her voice catching. She hadn't expected him, not yet. Bryce dropped his briefcase and crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling her into his arms. "Missed you too much," he murmured, kissing her forehead. His warmth dissolved the day's pain, but not entirely. Zeke stirred, rubbing his eyes. "Daddy!" He leapt up, wrapping his arms around Bryce's legs. "Hey, champ!" Bryce scooped him up, grinning. Heard it's your birthday. Sorry I missed the party. Naomi's smile faltered. It wasn't much of a party, she admitted, her voice low. She led Bryce to their small table, the scent of leftover rice and tomatoes lingering. Something happened at the market today. Bryce's jaw tightened as she recounted the encounter. Trent's venom, Kira's taunts, Zeke's confusion. He called Zeke a mistake, she whispered, her eyes burning. Zeke, now back on the mattress, looked up. What's a mistake, Daddy? Bryce knelt beside him, his voice soft but firm. A mistake is when someone says something foolish because they don't know how special you are. You're the best gift your mom ever got, and the best thing that ever happened to me. He ruffled Zeke's hair, his eyes never leaving Naomi's. You okay? She nodded, but her trembling hands betrayed her. Bryce stood, his presence filling the room. Tomorrow, we're going out, he said, his tone resolute. Some people need to meet the real you, Naomi. And they need to know who Zeke belongs to. Naomi's breath hitched. Bryce, you don't have to. I want to, he cut in, his eyes blazing. Let's show them what a real family looks like. Morning light filtered through the curtains, painting golden streaks across Naomi's apartment. She stood before the mirror, holding a deep blue dress Bryce had bought months ago. It was elegant, with a fitted bodice and a flowing skirt, too fine for her usual life of market runs and mending clothes. It's too much, she murmured, touching the fabric. Bryce appeared behind her, his reflection steady in the mirror. It's not enough, he said, his hands resting on her shoulders. You've been hiding your light, Naomi. Today it shines. She turned, meeting his gaze. What if they laugh again? What if it doesn't change anything? Bryce's eyes softened. They'll see what I see, a queen. And if they don't, they're blind. He handed her a pair of silver heels. Wear these. They'll match your crown. Naomi laughed despite herself, the sound shaky but real. You're ridiculous. And you're beautiful, he countered, kissing her cheek. In the corner, Zeke bounced on the mattress, already dressed in a tiny blazer and khakis, his sneakers swapped for polished shoes. Mommy, you look like a movie star, he exclaimed, his eyes wide. Naomi's heart swelled. And you look like a prince, champ. She helped him adjust his tie, her fingers lingering on his small shoulders. Ready for our adventure? Yup. Zeke grinned. Is the surprise the fancy clothes? Bryce chuckled, adjusting his own cufflinks. That's just the start, kid. He glanced at Naomi, his voice dropping. I called in a favor. There's a car waiting outside. Naomi frowned. A car? Bryce, we can walk. Not today, he said, his smile cryptic. He opened the door, revealing a sleek black limousine parked on their dusty street. The neighbors peeked from their windows, whispering. Zeke gasped, tugging Naomi's hand. Mommy, it's huge. Is that ours? Bryce winked. For today, it is. He held the door open, his posture radiating pride. Ladies first. Naomi hesitated, the weight of yesterday's humiliation lingering. But Bryce's steady hand and Zeke's excited bounce pushed her forward. She stepped into the limo, the leather seats cool against her skin. Zeke climbed in, his eyes darting everywhere. This is cooler than a spaceship. Naomi laughed, settling beside him. Bryce slid in, his presence a quiet anchor. As the limo pulled away, Naomi felt a shift, not just in scenery, but in herself. The woman who left the market in shame was gone. Today, she was someone new. The limousine glided through the market's chaotic streets, its polished exterior reflecting the vibrant stalls and curious faces. The crowd parted, whispers rippling like waves. Naomi's heart raced, her new dress feeling both foreign and empowering. Zeke pressed his nose to the window, pointing at a fruit cart. Look, Mommy. Mangoes. Bryce squeezed her hand. You ready? She nodded, though her stomach twisted. The market was where she'd been broken yesterday. Today, she'd reclaim it. The limo stopped near Mama Boza's stall, and the driver opened the door. Naomi stepped out first, her heels clicking on the uneven ground. The crowd hushed, eyes wide. Zeke hopped out next, holding Bryce's hand, his tiny blazer drawing smiles. Bryce followed, his tailored suit commanding attention. Mama Boza's face lit up. "Naomi, my girl, you're glowing." She leaned over her tomatoes, grinning. "And who's this handsome man?" Bryce extended a hand. "Bryce Hayes, Naomi's husband." Mama Boza's eyebrows shot up. "Husband? Well, well." She winked at Naomi. "You've been holding out on me." Naomi blushed. "It's complicated, Mama." The whispers grew louder as they walked deeper into the market. Vendors paused. Customers stared. Naomi spotted Trent and Kira near a juice stall, their laughter faltering as they noticed the limo. Kira's iced drink slipped slightly in her hand, her eyes narrowing. Trent's smirk faded, replaced by a scowl. "Who's that, Mommy?" Zeke whispered, clinging to her hand. "No one important," Naomi said softly, her voice steady. She felt Bryce's arm brush hers, a silent promise of strength. A young vendor, Chitty, called out, "Naomi, you look like royalty." His grin was infectious, and a few bystanders clapped. Kira's voice cut through. "What's this? A costume party?" She tossed her weave, her tone sharp but unsteady. Naomi met her gaze, unflinching. "Just celebrating my son's birthday, Kira. You should try it sometime, celebrating someone other than yourself." The crowd murmured, some chuckling. Trent stepped forward, his gold chain glinting. "Nice ride, Naomi. Found a sugar daddy to pay for it." Bryce's presence loomed, silent but electric. The stage was set, and Naomi felt the weight of every eye on them. She stood taller, ready for whatever came next. The market pulsed with tension, the air thick with anticipation. A crowd gathered, drawn by the limousine and the unfolding drama. Naomi stood between Bryce and Zeke, her blue dress catching the sunlight. Vendors abandoned their stalls, customers clutched their bags, and children peered from behind crates. The whispers grew. "That's the woman from yesterday." "Who's the guy in the suit?" Bryce calmly handed Zeke a bag of roasted groundnuts from a nearby vendor, who refused payment. "On the house for the birthday boy," the vendor said, winking. Zeke beamed, munching happily, oblivious to the storm brewing. Trent's voice boomed, desperate to regain control. "What's this, Naomi? Overcompensating with another man's money." His laugh was forced, his eyes darting to the crowd. Bryce turned slowly, his presence silencing the murmurs. "I'm the man who raised what you threw away," he said, his voice low but sharp, cutting through the market like a blade. "You insulted my wife and my son. That was your mistake." The crowd gasped, phones emerging to capture the moment. Kira scoffed, clutching her drink. "Oh, please. Anyone can rent a limo and play hero for a day." Naomi stepped forward, her voice steady. "This isn't a game, Kira. You mocked a child. My child. That's not something you walk away from." A vendor shouted, "You tell her, sister." Others nodded, their support emboldening Naomi. Zeke looked up, confused but safe, his hand in Bryce's. Trent sneered. "You think this changes anything? You're still the same broke." "Enough," Bryce interrupted, his tone icy. He faced the crowd, his voice carrying. "This woman is my wife. She's stronger than you'll ever know. And this boy," he lifted Zeke onto his shoulder, "is my son. You don't get to define them." The crowd erupted in cheers, clapping and whistling. Mama Bose yelled, "That's right. Show 'em who's boss." Naomi's chest tightened, not with shame but with pride. Bryce's words weren't just a defense, they were a declaration. The market, once a place of pain, was now her stage. Kira's face twisted. "This is ridiculous. You're all eating this up like fools." A teenage girl in the crowd shouted back, You're the fool, lady. Laughter rippled through the market, and Kira's confidence cracked. Naomi squeezed Zeke's hand, her eyes locked on Bryce. For the first time, she felt untouchable. The crowd's energy fueled her, and Bryce's strength anchored her. This wasn't just a moment, it was a movement. The market was alive, the crowd buzzing with excitement. Naomi stood tall, her heart pounding with a mix of nerves and triumph. Bryce set Zeke down, kneeling beside him, his suit pristine despite the dusty ground. "This is my son," he said, his voice ringing clear. "Zeke Marshall Hayes. My heir. The boy you insulted is 10 times the man you'll ever be, Trent." The crowd roared, phones flashing as they recorded. Mama Bose clapped, shouting, "That's how you do it." Chitty whistled, and others joined in, their cheers a wave of support. Trent's face reddened. "You can't just claim him," he sputtered. "He's—" Bryce pulled a document from his jacket, unfolding it with deliberate calm. "Zeke Marshall Hayes," he read aloud. "Legally adopted. Sole parental authority, protected by law." He held up the paper, letting the crowd see. "You have no claim here. Not now, not ever." The market erupted, claps, cheers, and shouts of yes. Naomi's eyes burned with tears, not of pain but of pride. Zeke clung to her, whispering, "Is that true, Mommy? Daddy's really my daddy." Naomi nodded, her voice thick. "Always has been, baby." She kissed his forehead, her heart full. Kira tried to laugh, but it came out shrill. "This is all for show. You're nobody, Naomi. A piece of paper doesn't change that." Naomi faced her, her voice steady. "You're wrong, Kira. It's not the paper. It's us." She gestured to Bryce and Zeke. "We're a family. You can't take that away." The crowd cheered louder, some chanting, "Naomi! Naomi!" A young woman approached, her eyes shining. "You're amazing," she said. "Don't let them dim you." Naomi smiled, touched. "Thank you." She looked at Bryce, who was watching her with quiet pride. Zeke tugged Bryce's sleeve. "Daddy, can we get more groundnuts?" Bryce laughed, ruffling his hair. "Anything for you, champ." He bought another bag, handing it to Zeke with a wink. Trent, cornered, tried one last jab. "This doesn't erase your past, Naomi." Bryce stepped forward, towering over him. "Her past made her who she is. Stronger than you'll ever understand. Now, step back." His voice was calm but lethal, and Trent faltered, the crowd's jeers pushing him further into silence. Naomi felt the weight of yesterday lift. The market, the people, the moment, it was hers. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was shining. The market air buzzed with lingering tension, the crowd still buzzing from Bryce's declaration. Naomi stood tall, her blue dress catching the midday sun, Zeke's hand warm in hers. Bryce, his face a mask of calm authority, reached into his jacket and pulled out a crisp white envelope. He handed it to Trent, whose smirk faltered as he took it. "Open it," Bryce said, his voice low but commanding, like a judge delivering a verdict. Trent fumbled, tearing the envelope open. His eyes scanned the document, and his face paled. "What is this?" he muttered, his bravado crumbling. "It's a cease and desist," Bryce said, stepping closer, his presence towering. "And a notice of a defamation suit. You called my son illegitimate in public. That video's online, every word you said is documented." The crowd gasped, phones still raised, capturing every second. Mama Bose leaned over her stall, grinning. "Serves you right, boy. You don't mess with a mother's child." Kira, clutching her now warm iced drink, tried to intervene. "This is absurd. You can't sue us for speaking the truth. Naomi's a charity case, always has been." Naomi's chest tightened, but she stepped forward, her voice steady. "You mocked a 6-year-old, Kira. You called him a mistake in front of a crowd. That's not truth, that's cruelty." She paused, her eyes locking on Kira's. And you don't get to decide who I am." The crowd erupted in cheers, a vendor shouting, "Tell her, Naomi." Zeke looked up, confused but proud. "Mommy, you sound like a superhero." Naomi smiled, ruffling his hair. "Just your mom, champ." But inside, she felt the shift. She wasn't just defending herself, she was reclaiming her power. Trent crumpled the paper, his voice shaking. "You think this scares me? You're nothing, Naomi. You and your fancy man." Bryce didn't flinch. "You're wrong, Trent. She's everything. And you just made the biggest mistake of your life." He turned to the crowd, raising his voice. "Anyone here witness what they said yesterday? About my wife? My son?" Hands shot up, voices overlapping. "I heard it. They were awful." A teenage boy waved his phone. "I got it all on video." Kira's face twisted. "You're all pathetic, eating up this drama." She grabbed Trent's arm, trying to pull him away, but the crowd's jeers drowned her out. Naomi stood silent, her dignity louder than any shout. The legal notice wasn't just a paper, it was a line in the sand, and she'd drawn it. The market pulsed with energy, the crowd's excitement crackling like static. Naomi felt the weight of every stare, but this time, it wasn't pity, it was awe. Bryce's assistant, a young woman named Temmie, pushed through the crowd, her phone in hand. She leaned toward Bryce, whispering, "Sir, the video's blowing up. 300,000 views in an hour." Naomi's eyes widened. "People are watching this?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the market's hum. Bryce nodded, a faint smile on his lips. "They should. Let the world see how you carried yourself." He squeezed her hand, his touch grounding her. Zeke tugged her dress. "Mommy, are we famous now?" Naomi laughed, kneeling to his level. "Not quite, baby. But people are seeing how strong we are." She glanced at Bryce, who winked, his pride evident. Across the market, a young woman with braids and a bright headscarf approached, her phone glowing. "Naomi, I'm Aisha. I posted the video. Look." She held up her screen, showing a clip titled, "Woman Humiliated by Ex, Husband Shuts Them Down in Limo." The comments were flooding in, "She's a queen." "That man's a king." "Zeke's adorable." Naomi's throat tightened. "You filmed it." Aisha grinned. "Had to. The way you stood up to them? That's power. People need to see this." Trent, still clutching the crumpled notice, scoffed. "This is a circus. You think a viral video changes who you are?" Bryce turned, his voice calm but cutting. "It doesn't change her. It shows the world who she's always been." The crowd cheered, and Trent shrank back, his confidence evaporating. Kira tried to salvage her pride. "This is all fake. You're not fooling anyone." Mama Bose laughed, fanning herself with her newspaper. "Child, the only fake thing here is that weave you keep tossing." The crowd roared, and Kira's face flushed. Temmie whispered to Bryce again. "It's trending locally now. Blogs are picking it up." Naomi overheard, her heart racing. This wasn't just revenge, it was redemption. She hadn't sought this attention, but it found her, amplifying her truth. She looked at Zeke, happily munching his groundnuts, and felt a surge of purpose. This moment was bigger than her. It was for every woman who'd been shamed and kept going. The crowd's energy was electric, their cheers a shield around Naomi. She stood beside Bryce, Zeke's small hand in hers, as Kira tried one last jab. "Let's see if your fairy tale lasts longer than that scarf," she sneered, pointing at Naomi's faded green headscarf, now tucked into her bag. Naomi's eyes narrowed, but before she could speak, Bryce stepped forward, his voice smooth as steel. "My wife's scarf holds more history than your designer purse, Kira. It was earned, not sponsored." His words landed like a punch, and the crowd hooted, some clapping wildly. Mama Bose called out, "Preach, brother. That purse ain't got no story." Laughter rippled through the market, and Kira's smirk vanished. Naomi found her voice, her tone calm but fierce. You don't get it, Kira. This scarf, this dress, this life, it's mine. I built it. You can't mock what you don't understand. Zeke piped up, his voice small but clear. Yeah, Mommy's scarf is cool. The crowd awed, and Naomi's heart swelled. Even in this storm, her son was her anchor. Trent, cornered, tried to laugh it off. You're all buying this act? She's still the same. Shut it, man. Chitty, the meat vendor, interrupted, his voice booming. You had your chance and blew it. Let her shine. The crowd nodded, their support a wall Trent couldn't breach. Kira's eyes darted, her confidence cracking. You're all ridiculous, she snapped, grabbing Trent's arm. Let's go. They turned to leave, but the crowd's jeers followed them, a chorus of disapproval. Go on then, a woman shouted. Leave the queen alone. Naomi watched them retreat, her heart pounding with a mix of relief and triumph. She hadn't shouted or cursed, she'd stood in her truth, and it was enough. Bryce leaned close, whispering, You did that, Naomi. Not me. You. She smiled, her eyes glistening. We did it. She looked at the crowd, their faces a mix of admiration and pride. This wasn't just her moment, it was theirs, too. The market, once a place of pain, was now a stage for her strength. The market's noise softened as Naomi, Bryce, and Zeke began their walk back to the limousine. The crowd parted, their cheers fading into respectful nods and smiles. Naomi's heels clicked on the uneven ground, each step a declaration of victory. Zeke skipped beside her, his blazer slightly askew, ground nuts spilling from his bag. Bryce's hand rested lightly on her back, his presence a quiet fortress. An elderly vendor, her face weathered like old leather, stepped forward, her eyes bright. You're a queen, my daughter. Don't ever forget. She pressed a small mango into Naomi's hand. For the boy's birthday. Naomi's throat tightened. Thank you, Auntie, she said, hugging her. The woman's words echoed in her heart, a balm for yesterday's wounds. Zeke looked up, his eyes wide. Mommy, are we famous now? Bryce chuckled, lifting him onto his shoulder. Maybe, champ. But you've always been royalty to us. Zeke giggled, waving at the crowd like a tiny king. Chitty approached, his grin wide. Naomi, you made this market proud today. You and your man showed 'em what's what. Naomi smiled, her voice soft. Thanks, Chitty. It means a lot. She glanced at Bryce, who nodded, his eyes warm with pride. A young girl, no older than 10, ran up, clutching a phone. Can I take a picture with you, ma'am? You're so strong. Naomi hesitated, then knelt, letting the girl snap a selfie. The crowd clapped, their support wrapping around her like a warm blanket. As they reached the limo, Mama Bose called out, Naomi, you come back any time, you hear? This market's your home. Naomi waved, her heart full. She stepped into the limo, Zeke scrambling in beside her, Bryce following. The leather seats felt like a throne, the tinted windows shielding them from the world. Naomi looked out at the market, its chaos now a canvas of her triumph. She wasn't just surviving, she was soaring. By nightfall, Naomi's apartment was quiet, the flicker of the single bulb casting shadows on the walls. Zeke was asleep, his tiny blazer draped over a chair. Naomi sat at the table, her phone buzzing with notifications. Bryce sat beside her, his laptop open, a news channel streaming. The anchor's voice filled the room, a viral moment of dignity and power played out in a city market today. Naomi gasped, watching footage of herself facing Trent and Kira, then Bryce's commanding presence. They're talking about us, she whispered, her voice trembling. Bryce smiled, squeezing her hand. You deserve it. The world's seeing you now. The anchor continued. The video, titled Woman Humiliated by Ex, Husband Shuts Them Down, has exploded online, with viewers praising the family's grace under fire. Comments flashed on screen. She's a queen. That husband's a legend. Zeke's the real MVP. Naomi's phone lit up with messages. Old friends, distant cousins, even a teacher from Zeke's school. "Naomi, you're an inspiration," one read. "Proud of you," said another. She shook her head, overwhelmed. "I didn't do this for fame," she said softly. Bryce leaned closer. "You didn't have to. Your strength did it for you." He pulled up a blog post, its headline bold, "Mother's Dignity Goes Viral." "This isn't just about us," he said. "It's about every woman who's been knocked down and got back up." Zeke stirred, rubbing his eyes. "Mommy, are we on TV?" Naomi laughed, pulling him onto her lap. "Just a little, baby." She kissed his forehead, her heart swelling. The news anchor signed off, promising updates on the Market Queen's story. Naomi looked at Bryce, her eyes glistening. "This feels unreal." "It's real," he said, his voice firm. "And it's just the beginning." The phone buzzed again, a message from an unknown number. "Naomi, we want you to speak at our women's event. Your story matters." Naomi stared at the screen, her past fading into the promise of a new chapter. The evening light faded, casting a soft glow through Naomi's apartment window. The buzz of her phone hadn't stopped since the news coverage aired, each notification a reminder of the market showdown. Naomi sat on the edge of the mattress, Zeke asleep beside her, his tiny hand clutching a stuffed lion Bryce had brought home. She scrolled through her phone, pausing at a new post on X from Trent. It was an apology video, his face filling the screen, his gold chain glinting under artificial light. "I want to address what happened at the market," he began, his tone stiff. Naomi pressed play, her stomach knotting. Bryce, sitting at their wobbly table with a cup of tea, raised an eyebrow. "He's trying to save face," he said, his voice calm but skeptical. In the video, Trent cleared his throat. "I said some things I regret. Emotions got high, and I didn't mean to offend anyone. Let's move on." The apology was brief, robotic, and ended with a forced smile. Comments flooded in. "Too late, bro. You called a kid a mistake. This ain't it." Naomi shook her head, her voice low. "He doesn't even mention Zeke. Or me." Bryce leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "He's not sorry. He's scared. The internet's tearing him apart." He pulled up his laptop, showing a thread on X where users dug into Trent's past. "Look, someone found an old post where he bragged about leaving you. People aren't letting it slide." Naomi's chest tightened, memories of those dark days resurfacing. "I don't want this," she said softly. "I don't need his apology. I just want him to leave us alone." Bryce reached for her hand. "He will. The world's speaking for you now." He scrolled to a comment, "Naomi's a queen. Trent's just dust." Naomi managed a small smile, the support warming her. Her phone buzzed again, a message from Aisha, the young woman who posted the market video. "Naomi, check X. Your story's trending globally now." Naomi opened the app, her heart racing. Hashtags like #MarketQueen and #NaomiShines were everywhere, with thousands of retweets. A user wrote, "Trent's apology is trash. Naomi didn't need it, she's already won." Zeke stirred, rubbing his eyes. "Mommy, why's your phone so loud?" Naomi laughed, pulling him close. "Just people being nice, baby." She looked at Bryce, her voice soft. "I didn't ask for this attention." "You didn't have to," he said, his eyes warm. "Your strength did the talking." The failed apology only amplified her victory, and Naomi felt the weight of her past lighten, replaced by a quiet power she was just beginning to embrace. Morning sunlight spilled into the apartment, catching the dust motes in the air. Naomi was folding Zeke's blazer when her phone rang, an unknown number flashing. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello. Naomi Hayes?" A woman's voice asked, professional but warm. "I'm Laura from EmpowerRise, a non-profit for single mothers. We saw your story online. It's incredible." Naomi's breath caught. "My story?" "Yes," Laura said. "Your strength in that market, Your Grace, it's inspiring. We'd love you to be the face of our new campaign, Unbreakable Mothers. Would you meet with us?" Naomi froze, her eyes darting to Bryce, who was helping Zeke with his breakfast. "I'm not sure," she said. "I'm not a public person. I just stood up for my son." "That's exactly why," Laura replied. "You're real. Women need to see that surviving isn't just enough, it's powerful. Can we discuss it over coffee?" Naomi glanced at Zeke, who was giggling as Bryce made a silly face. "Let me think about it," she said. "Can I call you back?" "Of course," Laura said. "Your story's already changing lives, Naomi. You could help so many." She hung up, leaving Naomi staring at her phone. Bryce looked up, curious. "Who was that?" Naomi recounted the call, her voice uncertain. "They want me to represent single mothers. I don't know if I'm ready for that." Bryce set down his spoon, his gaze steady. "You're more ready than you think. You survived Trent. You raised Zeke. You faced that market and didn't flinch. Your story has power, Naomi. You could help others survive, too." She bit her lip, doubt creeping in. "What if I fail? What if I'm not what they think?" Zeke piped up, his mouth full of yam. "You're the best, Mommy. Like a superhero." Naomi laughed, ruffling his hair. "You're biased, champ." She looked at Bryce, her voice softer. "What if this changes everything?" "It already has," he said, smiling. "But it's your choice. If you do this, it's not for fame, it's for purpose." Naomi nodded, her mind racing. The market had been her battleground, but this offer was a bridge to something bigger. She texted Laura, "I'll meet you. Let's talk." As she hit send, a spark of courage flared within her. This wasn't just about her, it was about every woman who'd been broken and kept going. The afternoon sun beat down as Bryce's car wound through the city's outskirts, leaving the market's chaos behind. Naomi sat in the passenger seat, Zeke in the back, humming to himself. "Where are we going?" she asked, her brow furrowed. Bryce had been cryptic, only saying he had a surprise. "You'll see," he said, his smile teasing. "Trust me." They pulled up to a sprawling plot of land, overgrown with grass but edged by sturdy trees. A faded sign read, "For sale," though it looked long abandoned. Bryce parked, stepping out into the dusty air. "Come on," he said, holding the door for Naomi and Zeke. Naomi frowned, stepping onto the uneven ground. "What is this place?" Bryce took her hand, his eyes bright. "I bought this land the year we got married. I always knew you'd outgrow the pain of your past. I wanted to build something with you, something that lasts." Naomi's breath caught. "Build what?" "A headquarters for a foundation," he said, gesturing to the land. "Named after your mother, Adeline. She sold in that market, just like you. This is for her legacy, and yours." Naomi's eyes welled up, memories of her mother's calloused hands and warm smile flooding back. "Bryce, this is huge. Can we even do this?" He grinned, pulling her close. "We can. I've been saving, planning. This is our next step." Zeke ran ahead, kicking at the grass. "Can I have a treehouse here, Daddy?" Bryce laughed. "Maybe, champ. But first, we're building something for Mommy's strength." He turned to Naomi, his voice soft. "You've carried so much. Let's build a place where others can find that strength, too." Naomi walked the land, her heels sinking slightly into the earth. "This feels like a dream," she said. "After everything, Trent, the market, all of it, this is real?" "As real as us," Bryce said, his hand on her shoulder. "You're not just surviving anymore, Naomi. You're creating." She looked at Zeke, chasing a butterfly, and felt a surge of purpose. "Let's do it," she said, her voice firm. "For Mom. For us. For every woman who needs a hand." Bryce kissed her forehead. That's my queen. They stood together, the land stretching before them, a canvas for their future. Naomi's past was a shadow, but this was her light. The school auditorium was packed, the air buzzing with chatter from parents and kids. Naomi sat in the front row, her hands clasped tightly, as Zeke prepared to speak at a courage-themed event. He stood backstage, his tiny blazer crisp, his eyes wide but determined. Naomi's heart swelled with pride, though nerves gnawed at her. "He's so small," she whispered to Bryce. "He's got your heart," Bryce said, squeezing her hand. "And my stubbornness. He'll be fine." The principal, a kind-faced woman, took the mic. "Next, we have Zeke Hayes, sharing his story of courage." The crowd clapped as Zeke stepped forward, clutching a crumpled note card. Naomi held her breath as he began, his voice small but clear. "Hi, I'm Zeke. I'm 6. My mommy taught me to smile even when things are hard. Like when people say mean stuff." He paused, glancing at Naomi, who nodded encouragingly. "My daddy taught me I'm not a mistake. I'm a gift." The crowd awed, some wiping tears. Naomi's eyes burned, her hand gripping Bryce's. Zeke continued, his voice growing stronger. "Courage is when you keep going, even when you're scared. Like my mommy in the market." The auditorium erupted in applause, parents whispering, "That's the market queen's son." Naomi's cheeks flushed, but her pride outweighed her shyness. Bryce leaned close, whispering, "He's stealing the show." A teacher approached after Zeke's speech, her eyes warm. "Naomi, he's got your heart and his father's confidence. That boy's going places." Naomi smiled, her voice soft. "He's already there." She hugged Zeke as he ran to her, his note card crumpled in his fist. "You were amazing, champ." "Was I brave, Mommy?" he asked, his eyes shining. "The bravest," she said, kissing his forehead. The crowd's applause lingered, a testament to Zeke's light and Naomi's love. This wasn't just a speech, it was a promise of the man he'd become. The morning sun filtered through Naomi's apartment, casting a warm glow on the cracked linoleum. She sat at the table, sipping tea, her phone buzzing with notifications about the market video, now at 1 million views. Zeke played with his toy lion on the floor, humming happily, while Bryce scrolled through his laptop, his brow furrowed. "Kira's in trouble," he said, turning the screen toward Naomi. A headline read, "Influencer dropped by brands after market drama." Naomi scanned the article. Kira's sponsors, cosmetic brands, fashion labels, had cut ties after the backlash. Her mocking of Zeke had sparked outrage, with comments flooding X. "She's done. No one wants a bully." Naomi's heart stirred with a mix of relief and pity. "She brought this on herself," she said softly, "but I didn't want her ruined." Bryce leaned back, his voice steady. "She chose her words, Naomi. You didn't make her say them." He pulled up a post from Kira, a half-hearted attempt to deflect blame. "Trent pushed me to act that way. I'm not the villain here." The comments were brutal. "Own up, Kira. You mocked a child." Zeke looked up, curious. "Mommy, is that the mean lady from the market?" Naomi nodded, keeping her tone light. "She's learning a lesson, champ. Words matter." She ruffled his hair, her heart heavy but resolute. Kira's fall wasn't her victory, it was a consequence. Her phone buzzed with a text from Aisha, the young woman who posted the video. "Naomi, Kira's trending for all the wrong reasons. Your story's bigger now." Attached was a clip of a vlogger dissecting Kira's downfall, praising Naomi's grace. "You're a role model," the vlogger said. "She's what strength looks like." Bryce smiled, squeezing Naomi's hand. "See? The world's rooting for you." Naomi shook her head, still processing. "I just wanted to protect Zeke. Not this." "You did both," Bryce said. "And you did it without sinking to their level." Across town, Kira sat in her sleek apartment, her phone silent for the first time in years. She dialed Trent, her voice sharp. "This is your fault. You made me look bad out there." Trent scoffed over the line. "You jumped in, Kira. Don't pin this on me." The call ended abruptly, their fair-weather relationship unraveling. Naomi, unaware of their collapse, felt a quiet resolve. She hadn't needed to fight back. Her silence, her strength, had spoken louder than Kira's noise ever could. The banquet hall glowed with soft lighting, chandeliers casting sparkles over tables draped in white. Naomi stood backstage at Empoweri's fundraising gala, her heart pounding. Her navy gown, a gift from Bryce, hugged her frame, its elegance a far cry from her market scarf. She clutched her note card, her speech scribbled in careful handwriting. Lara, the non-profit's director, squeezed her arm. "You've got this, Naomi. Your story's why we're here tonight." Naomi nodded, nerves twisting her stomach. "I'm not a speaker," she whispered. "What if I mess up?" Lara smiled. "Just be you. That's enough." Bryce appeared, Zeke in tow, both in sharp suits. "You look like a queen," Bryce said, kissing her cheek. "Speak from here." He touched his heart. Zeke tugged her hand. "You're gonna be awesome, Mommy." Naomi laughed, her nerves easing. "Thanks, champ." She took a deep breath as the MC called her name, the crowd's applause pulling her onto the stage. The spotlight was blinding, but she spotted Bryce and Zeke in the front row, their smiles anchoring her. "Good evening," she began, her voice shaky but clear. "I'm Naomi Hayes. A mother. A wife. A woman who's been knocked down and got back up." The crowd leaned in, their eyes warm. "2 days ago, in a market, I was called a charity case. My son was called a mistake." Murmurs rippled through the room. It hurt. But it didn't break me. She paused, finding her rhythm. "You're not your mistakes. You're not someone's rejection. You're your own miracle. I learned that raising my son, loving my husband, and standing tall when the world tried to push me down." Her voice grew stronger, each word a step toward healing. "Every woman here, you're a miracle, too. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." The crowd erupted, some standing, others wiping tears. Zeke leapt to his feet, clapping wildly. "That's my mommy," he shouted, drawing laughter. Bryce's eyes glistened, his pride palpable. A woman in the audience stood, her voice trembling. "Naomi, I was a single mom, too. Your story gives me hope." Others nodded, their applause swelling. Naomi smiled, her heart full. "Thank you. That's why I'm here. For you." She stepped off the stage, her legs shaky but her spirit soaring. Bryce pulled her into a hug. "Told you," he whispered. "You're their queen." The city skyline glittered below as Naomi, Bryce, and Zeke stepped onto a rooftop terrace, transformed for Zeke's birthday redo. Fairy lights twinkled, a small table held a chocolate cake with 6 candles, and soft music played. Bryce had planned it quietly, inviting only a few of Zeke's school friends and their parents. Naomi's eyes widened, taking in the magic. "Bryce, this is perfect," she whispered. He grinned, his arm around her. "Zeke deserves it. So do you." Zeke ran to the cake, his eyes huge. "Mommy, look. It's chocolate." His friends crowded around, giggling as they poked at the frosting. Naomi laughed, her heart light. "You like it, champ?" "Best ever," he shouted, hugging her legs. The kids played tag, their laughter echoing, while parents chatted, their smiles warm. A mother approached Naomi, her voice soft. "I saw your speech online. You're amazing." Naomi blushed. "I just spoke my truth. And it's changing lives," the woman said, squeezing her hand. Bryce lit the candles, calling everyone over. "Time to make a wish, Zeke." The kids gathered, singing "Happy Birthday," as Zeke's face glowed in the candlelight. Naomi stood beside Bryce, her hand in his, watching their son blow out the candles. No tears, no hunger, no insults, just joy. Zeke grinned, frosting on his nose. "I wished for us to always be happy." Naomi's eyes misted. "We are, baby." She hugged him, the moment sealing a wound she hadn't realized was still open. Bryce leaned close, whispering, "This is what healing looks like." A friend's mom snapped a photo, posting it on X with the caption, "The Market Queen's sun shines." Naomi didn't see it. She was too busy cutting cake, laughing as Zeke smeared frosting on Bryce's cheek. The rooftop felt like a sanctuary, a world away from the market's pain. The market buzzed with its usual chaos as Naomi returned alone, her faded scarf tied loosely around her head. The air smelled of roasted corn and diesel, vendors shouting over each other. She felt different now, her steps lighter, her heart unburdened. The crowd from that fateful day was gone, but the vendors remembered. Mama Bose spotted her first, waving her over. "Naomi, our queen returns." Naomi laughed, hugging her. "Just me, Mama. No limos today." "You don't need 'em," Mama Bose said, her eyes twinkling. "You've got that glow." Naomi wandered through the stalls, greeting familiar faces. Chitty called out, "Market Queen, need some meat for Zeke." She bought a small cut, smiling as he slipped in an extra piece. "For the birthday boy," he said. At a vegetable stall, Naomi noticed a young woman with a toddler, counting coins with a worried frown. Her worn dress and tired eyes mirrored Naomi's past. Without thinking, Naomi approached the vendor. "I'll cover her groceries," she said, handing over her bills. The woman's eyes widened. "You don't have to." "I want to," Naomi said, smiling. "I've been there." The woman's eyes filled with tears, and she whispered, "Thank you." Naomi walked away, her heart full. It wasn't charity, it was closure, a way to heal the scars of her own market days. A vendor's daughter ran up, holding a phone. "Naomi, can I get a selfie? You're famous." Naomi laughed, posing with her. "I'm just a mom," she said, but the girl shook her head. "You're our hero." As Naomi left, carrying a bag of roasted groundnuts for Zeke, she felt the market's embrace. It wasn't just a place of pain anymore, it was where she'd risen, where she'd found her voice. She glanced back, the stalls a blur of color and life, and smiled. This was her full circle. Naomi returned home, the market's warmth lingering in her chest. She tucked the groundnuts into a cupboard, then noticed a folded paper under her pillow, scrawled in crayon. Her heart skipped as she opened it, Zeke's wobbly handwriting filling the page. "Dear Mommy, thank you for never giving up. You make broken things beautiful. You made me strong. Love, Zeke." Tears spilled down Naomi's cheeks as she clutched the letter, her breath hitching. Bryce walked in, pausing at her expression. "What's wrong?" She handed him the letter, her voice thick. "Zeke wrote this." Bryce read it, his eyes softening. "That boy sees you, Naomi. Really sees you." He pulled her into a hug, his voice low. "He's right. You make broken things beautiful." Naomi wiped her eyes, laughing through tears. "I was so scared I'd fail him. After everything, Trent, the market, all of it." "You didn't," Bryce said firmly. "Look at him. He's your masterpiece." Zeke bounded in, his toy lion in hand. "Mommy, did you find my letter?" Naomi knelt, pulling him close. "I did, champ. It's the best gift I've ever gotten." She kissed his forehead, her tears mixing with his giggles. "You make me strong, too." "Really?" he asked, his eyes wide. "Really?" she said, her voice steady. "You're my hero." Bryce watched, his smile warm. "Told you, Zeke. Your mom's a queen, but you're her knight." Zeke grinned, hugging them both. Naomi held the letter to her chest, the weight of her past, Trent's betrayal, the market's shame, fading against Zeke's words. Every struggle, every tear, had been worth it for this moment. She wasn't just a survivor, she was a mother who'd built a legacy of love. Naomi stood in her new office, a modest but elegant space in the Foundation's newly constructed building. The walls were bare except for a framed article, its headline bold, "Mother Mocked in Market, Returns as Icon of Grace." Sunlight streamed through a window, catching the polished wood of her desk. She ran her fingers over it, still adjusting to this reality. The foundation, named after her mother Adeline, was set to open next month, a beacon for women like her. Bryce leaned against the doorway, his suit crisp. "Told you they'd see you," he said, kissing her forehead. "This is your crown." Naomi smiled, her eyes tracing the room. "It's not about crowns. It's about purpose." She looked at the article, its words a reminder of her journey. "I didn't think I'd get here." "You were always here," Bryce said, his voice firm. "The world just caught up." Zeke ran in, holding a crayon drawing of a house with a tree. "Mommy, this is our foundation. I drew it for you." Naomi laughed, taping it to the wall beside the article. "It's perfect, champ." Her phone buzzed, a message from Laura. "Naomi, the campaign's launching next week. You're inspiring thousands." Naomi replied, her fingers steady, ready to help. She wasn't just a face now, she was a voice. A knock interrupted them. Mama Bose stood at the door, holding a basket of tomatoes. "Couldn't let you open this place without me," she said, grinning. "Your mama would be proud, Naomi." Naomi hugged her, tears pricking her eyes. "Thank you, Mama. For everything." Mama Bose winked. "You're the market's queen. Always were." She handed Naomi a tomato, its red skin warm. "Plant the seeds, child. Keep growing." Naomi nodded, her heart full. She looked at Bryce, Zeke, and the room, her past and future intertwined. She hadn't just won a fight, she'd built a legacy. The market, the pain, the viral moment, they were steps to this moment. She was a queen, not because of applause, but because she'd never lost herself. "I'm glad you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed the story."